The Seric chairside system now allows us to make provisional bridges, which is a great feature. When you connect this with the Seric Connect software where a final fixed restoration could be fabricated, it allows us to get away from the polyvinyl generation where we can do everything in a true digital way. With the software, you will start with your distal abutment and we'll start laying down your proposals moving forward. Sometimes what happens is the proportion of the first proposal is off and every succeeding proposal is off. So you'll end up that the most anterior tooth, which should be the most aesthetic tooth, will come out in a poor proportion. The overlay is used where we will be able to set the proportions of the first proposal and carry that forward. After you do your imaging and you take your bite, you will trim your antagonist, much like you do with doing single units. We go around, we trim. Any of the extra stuff we trim out. We'll then go through the margination stage. You go at first on a distal abutment, you will do your periphery of your preparation, and then you will ask to do the points where you want tissue contact on the pontics, and then you will go for the anterior margin. After you complete your circle, you will not be able to edit the margin until all of the areas have been marginated, the abutments and the tissue-bearing pontic sites. You can go back and modify the margins of your abutments and also the periphery of the tissue-bearing surfaces. When you're happy with that and hit the green arrow, you will now be asked to correct the insertion angle. Any areas that show up as yellow, you want to rotate the virtual model until the yellow is gone. It's a great way to check your prefs. Now you'll start with the proposals. I'm going to be doing a green arrow proposal so you can see what I mean when I say the last proposal will be off in a proportions. Every time I have a proposal, I just hit the green arrow and work the way down. I'll show you later how you can modify each proposal as it's laid down, or after the units are laid down, go back and correct the individual units in the bridge software. If we rotate this around, you can see how that number 21 is just a little bit narrower than number 20. And the position, it's a little to the buccal, where 20 is towards the lingual, 21 is towards the buccal. Number 18 is rotated a bit. I'm now going to redo the case with using the posterior overlay. I will not be changing the margins or the tissue-bearing surfaces from the first case when I did it with just green arrow. I apply the overlay. I'm going to rotate the model by depressing the left trackball button and then using the trackball, and then changing the model without changing any of its rotations or axes by depressing the right trackball button and using the trackball button to physically move the model. The vertical lines have been set up to give me the mesial and distal surfaces of the proposed teeth, all the teeth in a quadrant. We first find some reference marks. In this case, we have the cuspid. So we're going to line everything up by lining up the mesial and distal surfaces of the cuspid, and that should give us proportions that we can carry through. If the, in this case, second molar drifted forward, what I want to do is I want to have the premolars more of the same proportion as the cuspid because they'll be more noticeable and cut down on the mesial distal width of the first molar. But this case works out pretty good. The proportions carry through well. After we've gotten the first proposal laid down, we'll sequentially move through the other proposals, keeping the proposed restorations within the vertical line so we maintain our proportions. Number 19, we had to shrink a bit and then move distal in order to get a nice contact between 18 and 19. 20 is laid down. There again, we narrow it down, mesiodistal, move it distally, and we have plenty of room to have a very nice 21 put in by the software. I'm not too concerned with the occlusion at this time. You can see the red on the occlusal surfaces. We can modify that. I'm more worried about the proportions during this stage. As each proposal is laid down, we're able to adjust it by position rotate, but we cannot go back to the prior proposals until all the proposals have been laid down. Now that 21 has been placed, we can rotate it to the buckle. Now we can check the buckle lingual width. We can also check the occlusion by putting on the antagonist. By double-clicking on the proposal we want to adjust, it will highlight, and then we can use the position tools, the rotate tools, form plus, form minus, to make whatever adjustments that we want to do. And there again, we work down the line until the total proposal is the way that we want it. After I've worked out the occlusion and the placement of the teeth, I'll go and I'll refine the buccal and lingual surfaces and bulk up the connectors. Since it is a provisional bridge made out of plastic material, you're going to want to have substantial connectors so it can withstand the test of time. Form Plus, Form Minus, Smooth are great tools to help with this. Now in Mill Preview, we go ahead and we look at what we have, check the occlusion, go rotate around. If this was a case that I wanted to do ovate pontics, you can use your Form Plus tool and Smooth tool to add on to the tissue-bearing surfaces. You would be able to then insert the bridge and start developing the tissue with it. Since we already had implants in when this was made, I didn't want to do excess pressure on the implants. I didn't bother with that. The bridge function of the CEREC software is a great feature, allowing us to make provisional bridges. You couple this with the CEREC Connect software and you can truly do digital dentistry, having your lab fabricate the final restoration. It is a complicated feature though, and the overlay has been designed to help streamline the design process so that dentist ends up with a better final provisional restoration.